It's really no big secret that the Resident Evil franchise has some pretty dark twists and turns for some of the characters. Steve Burnside, Brad Vickers, Pierce Nivens, etc. All of them fell due to the plight that surrounds bioterrorism. However, what would happen if the course of history was altered within the Resident Evil timeline? Lives changed, altered in an instant. Well, that's what I'm here to speculate about with the most efficient logical means. What if story events happen in a different way in regards to the Resident Evil lore? My inspiration for this video in particular was from a project called Dark Biohazard. It was a conversion mod for Resident Evil 2 that allowed players to control Leon S. Kennedy. The game had callbacks to previous areas, like Leon exploring a familiar mansion, for example. The premise was all about a reimagined scenario, a what if, so to speak. What if Wesker and Umbrella managed to successfully wipe out STARS during the mansion incident? It was a neat concept when it was first introduced by the creator Yami Biohazard. I have to gush over this mod just a little bit because it introduced some very cool and unique aspects, such as the darker storyline, even allowing you to roam a section of the RPD fully on fire. The project was slightly faded into obscurity around 2009, never to be released to the public as there was no word or updates from Yami Biohazard on the project's continuation. It's a goddamn crying shame because it's not the first time that something like this has happened before at the expense of a side game. Operation Raccoon City tried to capture the whole what if scenario, much to a very mixed reception. The USS were commissioned to hunt down individuals like Leon S. Kennedy, although I'm sure that Slant 6, in all their infinite wisdom, the creators of the infamous SOCOM confrontation drove more than a few nails in the coffin as far as ORC's potential goes. Back to the main point at hand, let's start off with my interpretation about the STARS unit failing their mission forever. I'm going to assume Brad Vickers will remain alive just like he did in the original story surrounding Dark Biohazard. The events that befall STARS were shocking, so he still resigned. Even if he's more guilty, he has that guilt on his conscience now that he left them to die. If Brad goes to investigate Umbrella on his own, then I think he would be a bit more courageous to right the wrongs of the past. I don't think that there would be any reason to deploy Nemesis at all if Chief Irons was completely fine with Brad quitting the force. Umbrella wouldn't see STARS as a big threat anymore either, for very obvious reasons, not due to the fact that they might be 6 feet underground, fertilizer and everything. Bravo and Alpha Team are history, but that's besides the point. With the death of Chris Redfield, there would be no need for Claire Redfield to go to Raccoon City anymore. This has a sort of chain reaction of particular events. Claire would either be in mourning, contemplating suicide, or moving to a new life, another life so to speak, after Chris's death. Code Veronica would not take place in the timeline due to the circumstances surrounding Chris's death and Claire's lack of involvement. Sherry would have no true protector from G. Birkin, thus when Leon finds her, I think he would be already way too late to stop Sherry's G infection. She thinks that all police officers in the RPD are zombified. I guess that's one reason why she's probably running away from Leon. She would get the hell out of there, get out of Dodge, and I guess it would be already too late by that point if she keeps running away and William gets his hands on her. Wow, like when you really think about it, Sherry's survival all hinges on Claire. Annette is not doing a good job. I guess she would break down and go crazy in this situation. Finding her daughter is fully succumbed to the G embryo and seeing her, I don't know if she would transform or anything. That would be pretty gruesome, man. Her transforming in front of her mother, that would be a scenario that you could put up there. And I also said the reason why Claire would probably commit suicide is because she's alone now without Chris. Without Chris, their parents are dead. There's also the fact that I don't think there's any other Redfield relatives coming into the equation anytime soon. It's only Chris and Claire both of those two, and without that equation, I would assume Claire would give in to depression, sadly. With the death of Jill Valentine, I would think that the UBCS would still be leading the charge against the infected hordes during the Raccoon City incident. I would mark Carlos's team off the list though, since it ultimately would be a matter of time before Nikolai kills them all under Umbrella's orders. Just think about it for a second. Jill's constant distractions, Jill's hardened resolve to state how Umbrella caused the incident wouldn't be present here, and thus it probably wouldn't change Carlos's mind. He would probably still be following orders, falling in line just like another Lowell grunt, right until the end where he's murdered by the White Wolf himself.
Don't shoot! No! Nikolai? You're still alive?
You saw what happened.
What's going on?
I'm one of the supervisors. That's all you need to know.
Barry's death would probably end up with one or two situations. Either Polly Burton lives after her mother rids the house of guns, or she dies since Barry Burton doesn't discover her in time after she's shot by Mora. Let's just say that Revelations 2 probably would not occur if Claire and Barry are dead, and it would make Alex Wesker's job even more easier for securing Natalia's brain and having that good old brain swap. Wesker dying in the lab permanently would mean that Umbrella has no competition. Spencer would probably just remain in the chair. He would be the chairman until he either dies of old age, or Spencer is ultimately ripped off again from his research on the immortality virus with Alex Wesker. She takes the immortality virus and scrams, and then she comes back and she's immortal and she kills Oswald E. Spencer. This man gets the short end of the stick for making these Wesker creations. You sure that was a good idea, old man? I think not. I suppose since Wesker causes Umbrella to go bankrupt in Umbrella Chronicles by having the summation of all their data on one disc, this would mean that Sergei Vladimir keeps the disc and this would not get exposed in a court of law. That means that Umbrella would probably stick around for a longer period of time, and they would be the #1 dominant corporation because, you know, like I said, they would be sticking around by having that disc and not being exposed to the public just yet, unless Leon survives the new Raccoon City incident. Ada remains a little bit of a mystery. I suppose she could still come to Raccoon City since John did technically die in the mansion either way, so she would still be looking for him. The difference is not being thrown into a situation where Annette shoots her, since Sherry would be deader than fried butter on bread. I'm going to assume that Ada runs away with Leon and she still has that sort of change of heart here, and she surrenders the G virus to Leon. I definitely think that probably still would happen. The only really muddled part is what they do after the fact. I assume they run away with each other. Umbrella will still be hunting Ada regardless, due to the fact that they want a report. They want a status on what happened to that G virus sample. Logically speaking, I don't think that Ada would report in because she would be getting dick downed, downward dog, and because of this hilarious situation of Leon probably not reporting her to the feds or turning her in due to these feelings, this would happen where they probably would have the window to run away together, and Umbrella would be very furious and very angry at this prospect, and they would be coming after Ada and Leon, guns blazing, I assume. I guess I can do 3 more bonus scenarios. This is fun, man. This is very fun. I need to do more of these videos. What if the STARS team stayed alive, but what if Jill and Brad were eliminated during the events of Resident Evil 3? I think the biggest impact this plot thread has is on Chris, right? It will be on Chris. Code Veronica still happens since Claire is alive during this time period, along with Leon tipping off Claire's location. With the loss of his partner, the only person that Chris would have with him is Barry Burton, going, just assuming that they both go to Russia and still take down the Talos creature while Wesker escapes with the data. I would assume by this point either one or two things will happen. One will probably give Chris a difficult time. The other will probably end up with Chris dying. The first scenario with the difficult time would be Umbrella Europe finding that the Project Nemesis was so successful in carrying out its mission that they would mass deploy it and somehow find Chris at his current location and send him a bonus package. That bonus package involves Nemesis being gift wrapped and punching him in the face when he least expects it. Chris has done so much outlandish crap though against BOWs that I think his survivability rate against a Nemesis or multiple Nemesis would probably still be high. However, I think when we get to Lost in Nightmares where he's willing to do all these missions on his own and he doesn't have Jill Valentine and he knows the location of Wesker and he really wants him, Chris really craves bringing Wesker to justice. I think this would end up being his own undoing, and without Jill there to tackle Wesker through the plate glass window, this is where Chris would get impaled by Wesker and Chris would die here. We got another interesting prospect here. What if Sattler successfully shipped Ashley Graham back to the United States with a fully infected Plaga during RE4? Obviously, if you read Sattler's manifesto in Resident Evil 4, you'll see that he wanted to infect the president to gain control of political powers to take over the entire world with lost Plagas. There's no doubt that this would be the outcome, and this would occur the second Ashley goes back and she has an infected little face snack on her father. Leon would be dead in this situation. Let's mark him off the map for good. He's dead here. Chris would probably go rogue to find out what's going on, which would lead to quite the interesting encounter if he had to take on Lost Plagas by himself. But this time, I think it would be on American soil. I also would assume that Sattler would disband any anti-bioterrorism corporations like the BSAA and the DSO, with President Graham being controlled by the parasite. That's why I said Chris would go rogue in this instance, because the BSAA would not exist. All funding will be cut right down the middle. Alright, last one for the night. What if the Wesker children lived? Now this one is probably one of the most hypothetical what if scenarios, since we don't have that much prior knowledge about the personalities of the other clones outside of Alex and Albert. What we would assume here is that most of the Wesker children were indeed highly intelligent, since Spencer manufactured them to be a superior breed of humans, a superior breed of superhumans, I should say. These children did not perish until they were injected with the progenitor virus, which caused these following deaths: Derek Wesker, Felicia Wesker, Hans Wesker, Hero Wesker, Irma Wesker, Jonah Wesker, Kim Wesker, Laura Wesker, Marco Wesker, Miles Wesker, and William Wesker. They are all dead. I think the coolest names is like Miles Wesker and William Wesker. Think of that. Well, it sounds similar to William Birkin, but I guess they wanted to throw that in there. I'm just saying, fam, that's a little side note for me. If they all survived, assuming they had the superhuman retrovirus that Wesker activated after Resident Evil 1, then I would say the world is boned. These superpowered beings would be way too much for the BSAA to handle, thus world domination would be first priority on their list. I would imagine if they wanted to make things more interesting, I would assume they should have some Wesker children either decide to work together or despise the idea of working with each other. After all, Albert Wesker had a massive ego on him. No matter how you slice it, this could go either way. If they all work together though, the world is fucked. They would unironically make Spencer's vision, which involves a world being controlled by superior superhumans, a considered reality. It would be very likely that the Wesker children would see humanity as inferior, and it would cause them to probably get together and collaborate on Ouroboros so that could be released into the atmosphere much faster. Complete global saturation. I think that's it for my Resident Evil What If discussion of some stories and potential possibilities introduced into the series if they did change and alter events. This was fun, man. This might not just be like a one-off series. I might do this more often if I get more interesting ideas in the comment section to pursue and give my thoughts on certain takes and certain changes and alterations within the Resident Evil timeline. Please tell me what you think in the comment section that could lead to some interesting events going forward in the Resident Evil timeline that I could alter, maybe a character death, maybe I could compile that together and put that in a video for you guys. If you did like the video, please remember to like, share, subscribe, post this on Reddit, post it wherever. Give me the exposure that you can. I'm like Goku out here with my hands up. Lend me your energy, lend me your likes, because I need all the help I can get due to the YouTube algorithm being really bad. Either way, I thought this was fun. I thought it was really fun, and if I find some more ideas, if you guys like give me some more interesting ideas, I might do a part 2. Until then, I will see you guys later. This is Renegade Operative signing out. Be good people, take care, and I will see you next time. Later.